Hello, and welcome to a special and unorthodox Backseat critique. This is another Patreon request, this time by a flying brick, for the movie. Well, if you can read the thing up there, you know what it is, but this is a weird film.
Yes.
And it's so much narration, I got flashbacks to Winds of Change, aka Metamorphosis.
It had more narration than that.
Now that was all Peter. That was all Peter Ustinov's narration.
I know.
This is narration by a bunch of people, and then halfway through it becomes actual regular filmmaking, and then it goes back to narration.
It's like Mr. Ben style narration.
Yeah, unusual artistic choice.
Sort of very British kids film kind of thing.
So, sorry, it's these reviews are much more entertaining whenever the film is bad, and this one's definitely not bad. So it's going to be
odd. It's unusual.
Yeah.
But it's not bad.
Yeah. So don't expect one of the hilarious ha this film is terrible type things, because it's not, you know. And I like the fact these Backseat critique requests are usually fun, interesting anyway, because we got to see Beyond the Black Rainbow. Well, I got to see that. You didn't. It was very dull. And I got to show Omega Ginger Snaps. But yeah, that's another weird one. But okay, so you've got this film was half takes place in Australia and then half in New York. Now, Australia is basically covered in like a thin sheen of
brown.
Yeah, brown slime, while New York is black and white, and it's all stop motion claymation-y type thing.
Which freaks me out somewhere in the back of my head. I don't like claymation.
Yeah, and it's story of a pen pal friendship between this, at the start of the film, 8-year-old girl and
mid-40s American guy.
Yeah, and it's like the ups and downs, and it's got a surreal sense of humor, but it's also quite poignant. I cried at the end.
Did you?
Actually, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
Because you don't have a soul.
Well, that too. It's the story of
a black cat.
Yes, it's the story of basically a guy with Asperger's who lives in New York. He's a pen pal, and it's just at the cusp of Asperger's being added to the diagnostic thing. And it reminds me of the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime and how Asperger's is portrayed, which is the number one thing I always come back to with this, in that it's not inaccurate, but it's maybe larger than life.
Well, yeah, everything else in the film's larger than life, though.
Yeah.
But I can see when you've got every single media depiction of Asperger's tends to be off kilter in some way. So whenever you have one that's actually honest, but it's still larger than life, it can feel just as bad.
Obviously, I am Spectrum, and I'm pretty open about that. But it was a pretty accurate depiction of what a lot of people with Asperger's can feel.
Yeah. It struck me as one of the better screen depictions of it. You know, anything that was off about it was the style of the film.
Yeah.
And what about you, Sarah?
I thought it was a good description of how someone could feel, and I thought even Mary, trying to like kind of show as if she's trying to help. That's her way of helping, by trying to find a cure, by writing a book. But as Max said, he didn't want to be cured. He loved, well, not loved, he liked the way he was. And that's kind of the way it is in society. People just don't fully understand, even though when they say they do understand, they still be like, I will find you a cure. No, fuck off. We don't want a cure.
That's why we dislike Autism Speaks.
I feel like Autism Speaks would totally misinterpret this film as the courageous journey of a girl who's trying to cure autism, and then now that, you know, the bane of her life, Max, is unfortunately dead by then, she can then go on to cure it, because Autism Speaks are horrible.
They are.
So, oh, sorry, spoiler for him dying at the end.
A lot of people and things die in this film.
Yeah, and
death is a constant companion.
Plus, I get the feeling that main characters are not actually allowed to be 100% happy. They would have been they would have had too much happiness if they actually were both alive when they met, and then they would have exploded into rainbows or something. Because this film, okay. One of the reasons this review is being done by us three is because Omega apparently had heard of this, and she thought it was apparently this is apparently notoriously depressing, so she didn't want to watch it, which is fair enough.
It is quite hard hitting, but it's not the most depressing thing I've seen.
Oh, definitely not. But Omega had heard about it, and after Where the Dead Go to Die, which she watched with me for notes taking, she refuses to watch animated films with red flags with me. Fair enough. But when I heard it was like, oh, this is notoriously depressing, isn't it? And I'm like, well, let's see. I've seen Wilbur Wants to Kill Himself, which sounds like a zany comedy, but it's actually not. So I've seen, Come and See and stuff. Let's see, will this really be that depressing? And,
I've seen Adam Sandler on film.
well, yes, I've seen Inheritance as well. But, yeah, compared to Wilbur Wants to Kill Himself or a lot of other films, this is nowhere near as depressing. This is a...
On a scale of Fireman Sam to Melancholia, it's about a 5.
Yeah, it's a surreal, poignant comedy with a air of depression, sort of like an outline of depressingness. It's not constructed from depression.
Yeah, the word depression features in there. One of the characters gets diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
I did think that was going to be the main theme. I didn't pick up that they were going to bring in the whole autism thing.
Oh, I picked that up from the first time we saw Max.
I thought there may have been a chance that he was on the spectrum, but then I thought they were just going to be like, oh, he is like this because he is depressed, and then I was going to kick up Sting. I was like, yeah, because that's what all people with depression is like. But they moved it.
Am I wrong in this? But Mary seemed to be on the spectrum as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That very much was pointed out.
Okay, good.
Max was what a term I don't like is low functioning autism, because low functioning autism means not that the person who has it has low functions, but that you can't function well with them. But Max is closer to the stereotypical low functioning end of Asperger's syndrome.
Why do you say that?
It's more just what the character was. They're not diametrically opposite, but she was Mary was what would be considered high functioning. Max was what would be considered low functioning.
I would disagree.
Well, that's okay.
He was still able to hold down a job, go to work, go out, do whatever he had to do. He was still able to
pick up a beggar on the street by the throat. And
that I would put that down to not being able to control emotions or understand emotions.
That was kind of him getting pushed to the edge. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
I would put that down
in that situation.
Emotions and anger.
But now that I've agreed with Sarah, I agree with Robyn and say that he struck me as low functioning as well. But say something else. Try to think of something.
Well, having worked with a lot of people with low functioning autism, I would still disagree.
Well, maybe not the classical far end low functioning, what would be called low functioning, but he was a lot less functioning than Mary.
He was just a guy who needed a friend. Autism, no autism. Depression,
Are you
no
trying
depression.
to fix your ableism from the last few?
No, I am not. He just needed a friend.
Avengers Age of Ultron reference. Vlography. What reference? Watch it to understand.
Watch more of the videos. Watch more Hagan.
So in this one, we had a rather surreal moment whenever I was like, I think I recognize who's voicing Max. And it wasn't because of what he was saying or anything, it was because of the way he screamed. And then I picked up the DVD and I was proved right that it was Philip Seymour Hoffman. I was like, I think that's Philip Seymour Hoffman. I recognize that scream. That's not surreal at all, is it? Although on the other cast, okay, you got all these names here. Toni Collette, she's in it for like a quarter of it because she's playing Mary grown up. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it for most of the time. Barry Humphries does about 90% of the speaking in this film. Eric Bana has about 4 lines.
If there's honestly beyond the narration.
Yeah.
The speaking parts are tiny.
Yeah, it's just really weirdly constructed.
There's maybe like 10, 20 lines of dialogue in the entire thing that aren't either narration or letters being written.
Yeah.
Which I think counts as narration.
Yeah. The sort of Dracula was written like that. Dracula,
Bram Stoker
the novel was
a series of letters.
Yeah, so it's like that, but in a cinematic form. Another example of this sort of style of doing a film, much less poignantly, is There Were Giants, which was a television thing about the leaders of World War II, and they were the entire narrative is them sending letters to each other. So and that way we're finding out about the war and the progression of it. It features Michael Caine as Stalin, John Lithgow as Roosevelt. But the way they filmed that, basically you had the characters looking off to the distance and talking, so it looked like they were having psychic conferences with each other. Well, in this, it's narration over the top. They're clearly doing letters with miming a typewriter here.
Very inefficient use of paper as well. Mary was writing about 3 words at the page.
Well, she was young.
I'm surprised over the years she never got a typewriter.
That's true. And the passage of time in this film is a bit weird. Because the film on the back of it says it's the friendship spans 20 years. The film starts when Mary was 8, and we know that her parents die
When she's about 20.
Yeah, she was 8 in 1976. Her dad dies in 88. Her mom dies in 89, which means that she was 20 and 21 respectively. We don't know when then the last year happens a year later, 1990. So it's not 20 years. It's like 14 years of friendship. And her rooster has been alive. The pet rooster has been alive the entire time. Please, someone tell me how long a rooster lives, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't live for that long.
I think about 10 years.
What do you think, Chi?
She thinks of whistles.
But yeah, that's just like nitpicking with the...
Yeah, to be honest, there's not much bad stuff to say about this film. It's very to the point. It's very much what it set out to be. It doesn't feel like they got distracted, and it is a mildly depressing comedy.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off they did not go and visit each other sooner. Like, why would you not? Seriously? Seriously?
Because they wanted the poignant ending, which wasn't a good choice. It was basically an ending to try and leave people crying or whatever, or it's like crying and then you get the happiness of seeing how much the friendship really meant to them, even though if you didn't notice that already.
Mary arrived to see Max.
Felt a bit manipulative.
Max was dead.
And then she's all like, oh no, and she sits down beside him and looks up and she sees all of the stuff that everything in his room is mementos from their friendship.
That was a bit creepy though.
Yeah.
It was.
I didn't think it was creepy. It's just I felt the whole scene was manipulative a bit. They should have just had them meeting up and being I don't know.
Sharing a can of condensed milk.
I think it was creepy because they were just put up as like a display, whereas if they were put in a box and like.
Well, the film did state that he was filing them away in a special place, so that's obviously a recent development, putting them on the ceiling.
Yeah.
I want to know how he got them on the ceiling. Maybe that was the special place. He wasn't a tall guy, so how did he get them up there?
He was a short, fat guy.
Yeah. Did he jump?
Maybe it was a bird.
Yeah, he trained his parakeet.
How did parakeets last? He went through so many fish.
My favourite bit was whenever he was writing the letter to Mary to describe what was he trying to describe whenever he had his diagnosis of autism, about things that he may do or fail or whatever, and
wheeziness.
Yeah, he went into a waiting room or for an appointment or something, and there's a sign, please take a seat, and then the next clip it shows you on the train with a seat from that waiting room.
Because it's logical and literal.
Yeah. Somebody else is very literal.
So, Flying Brick, thank you for suggesting this film. I probably wouldn't have noticed it if you hadn't. I'm personally glad that I've seen it. I'm not going to force Omega to watch it. She don't think she'll like it.
I don't know if it's her cup of tea.
I'll add it to my collection of films, though. Thank you very much. And
it's well worth a watch.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out and say it's the be-all and end-all of movies, but it's well worth a watch. If you've got an hour and a half to spare, sit down and watch it.
And when it comes to films about spectrum, it seems to be far less offensive than many.
Yeah.
And, patrons, if you're watching this, well, hopefully some of you are watching this, if you have any rewards that, you are due and you haven't actually got access to or arranged or whatever, please send me a message on Patreon and let me know. Because I find it really hard to keep track of who is owed a Backseat critique, who is owed a film review, stuff like that. If you notice that you are owed something and you haven't got it, let me know. Thank you. Besides, I do like getting the Backseat critique requests. It's always fun to watch a film I've never seen before, with people knowing nothing about it. Okay, and welcome back. The camera was turned off, and then I remembered that I had this. I bought this for a Let's Try, and I was thinking about putting it in its own video, but then I decided not to. So here you go, post vlog Let's Try of some sparkling cucumber flavored water.
Cucumber flavored water labeled
Cucumber. I found this in a local supermarket. I like cucumber. I don't like cucumber flavored stuff.
Are we under like BBC rules? If we mention the name of the supermarket, do we have to advise them that other supermarkets are also available?
No.
Oh,
I'm just not saying where we got it.
I like impartiality.
So I like cucumber. I don't like cucumber flavored stuff. What about you?
I'm not a fan of either.
Oh, good. This is gonna be hilarious.
The only thing worse than cucumber is mushrooms or zucchini.
And be warned, if this... Oh, that does smell like cucumber. That is odd coming from water. Be warned, if this takes like more than 10 minutes of us retching and going all like... Blah, then this might end up its own video. But...
Close my eyes and think of England.
Ah! Oh, God.
Actually, that's not bad.
Cucumber should not be fizzy.
Oh no, God, that's disgusting.
Cucumber shouldn't fizz. There's something intrinsically wrong with this.
It's like
I'd say this is
the
like
flavor stays behind, but the liquid just slides down the throat.
I'd say this is like spicy ice cream, but spicy ice cream's good. It's completely opposite. Fizzing cucumber. Cucumber's supposed to be the most mellow type of, vegetable thingy
It's
ever.
not very mellow, it's sharp and awful.
No, it isn't. Cucumber's mellow. It almost doesn't have a flavor. It almost has no consistency. It's just sort of bleh.
That's lettuce you're thinking of.
No, cucumber.
I hate cucumber. That barely even tastes like cucumber.
Oh, it's got severe cucumber flavor.
Ugh. They have opposed taste buds.
According to Brad, you have to take 2 drinks of it. So, just to make sure you weren't lying the first time. That is intrinsically wrong!
It's very refreshing, but not nice.
Oh God, Omega is going to be so happy that she missed this.
That's okay, we can make her try it later.
Do you want to try some off screen?
No thanks.
Just a wee drop.
No,
1 sip.
I'm allergic.
Pretend to drink it and say something crazy.
Ew.
Oh God, I'm going to off screen. I'm going to make other people try this.
I'm not going to try anymore. I can still taste it.
Ah!
It's converted the flavour of my saliva.
Ah!
Well, it's certainly interesting.
Yeah. So, this exists, and it's a refreshing blend of natural cucumber and gently sparkling spring water. Certainly gentle in some ways.
Well, it didn't beat me up yet.
Yes. And carbonated spring water, sugar, natural cucumber flavor, and citric acid. Da-da-da!